My name is Sanford Johnson, Executive Director of Teach Plus here in the great state of Mississippi. 20 years ago, I never would have expected to be here today. I was one of those Mississippians who left the state after high school thinking that I would never live in Mississippi again. I headed off to Auburn University where I intended to study architecture and design sports stadiums for the rest of my life. The summer before earning my political science degree at Auburn, I took the opportunity to come back to Mississippi and work for Senator Thad Cochran. I met with elected officials and educators about the challenges they faced, and by the end of that summer, I was focused on all things Mississippi. I ended up getting a job offer to go to DC, but I turned it down to teach high school in the Mississippi Delta. And 18 years later, I'm still here in the Mississippi Delta. It was the right decision all around. I met my wife at Teach for America Institute, and this is the place where we've chosen to raise our two girls. And my family story has always been about the transformational power of education. My grandfather grew up as a sharecropper outside of Jackson. He and my grandma had 14 kids. They were not able to go to high school because there was no high school for them to go to, but they wanted all 14 of their children to graduate from college, and all 14 of them did. They raised enough money on the farm to send the first kid. The first kid graduated and got a teaching job and sent money back for the next kid. And I was 4 years old when I attended the graduation of the 14th graduate of the Johnson family. Now, considering my dad was an educator and several of my relatives were educators, it should not have been a surprise that I would go into the family business and not design sports stadiums. Now, here in the Delta, educators, advocates, and policymakers face some pretty serious challenges. Chief among them, how do we turn an education system that was not designed to educate every kid and turn it into one that will make every single kid successful as an adult? We see what's working around the country, we hear about best practices, but how do we do that in an effective way in an area where students are spread out over hundreds of miles? What works in New Orleans, Memphis, and other large cities may not work the same here. And what might work in South Dakota, Wyoming, or other rural states may not work the same here either. There's a history of inequity that we're trying to overcome. So how do we take policy solutions from across the country and sort of deep fry and season them in ways that work for Mississippians? It takes policy knowledge and advocacy knowledge to do those things. That's why I'm excited to work for Teach Plus, and that's why I am proud of the educators in our programs. We're building a coalition of education policy experts who are still in the classroom, influencing students through real instruction, while at the same time helping to move education policy. A lot of teachers don't yet recognize the power to have the influence policy. Part of what we do at Teach Plus is to show them how to tap into that power, who to get in touch with, and how to go to legislators with a solutions-oriented mindset. Not just saying something is wrong, but here are my recommendations on how to fix it. I get to work with teachers like Melissa, who's advocating for trauma-informed schools right now in the legislature. And I get to work with teachers like Edwin, who's already met with his state rep to discuss a teacher pay raise. 5 years from now, I want to see over 300 teachers who are part of our Teach Plus network in Mississippi and Arkansas. They may still be in the classroom, but some of them may be principals and superintendents. Some, I hope, will even be in the legislature. If there is a policy that needs to be changed, be it through a study by the legislature or a statewide coalition for policy change, we want to make sure that teachers are a part of it. Which brings me to the point of my message today. If you're coming to the Delta and you want to help our communities, make sure that you bring a jersey and not a cape. There's this perception that the problems in the Delta are overwhelming and nobody on the ground wants to do anything about it. In reality, a lot of folks are already doing great work here. That's something that the Walton Family Foundation recognizes with their coalition approach. When folks come here and want to help, we want them to understand you're not here to come save the day. You're coming here to be a part of a team. You know, they say real change happens from the ground up. Well, in the Delta, we have the most fertile soil in the world. If you plant a seed in the Delta, it will grow. But you can't throw seeds on the ground and walk away. You need to cultivate the soil, water those seeds, support the plant if necessary. Yes, the Delta is fertile ground. You don't produce the musicians, the educators, the advocates any other way. The talent is here. There are folks who are hungry to get the work done. It's just a matter of, are you going to plant the seeds? If we get the opportunity, we will always make the most of it. This, for me, is what it means to support community-driven change. Thank you.